motion, trying to make the moves to prove that I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. Been trying to do it my own way without the help of those around saying be all in. So I said, let's begin. When the road you take is just not working, look to those who know the path we're taking. No matter whatever it might take, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. No matter how the ground beneath me shakes, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. Oh, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. All the work and none of the glory. The time rewrite your story, be all in. Say I'm all in. Well, you know when where you're going, it can change in a single moment. Be all in. Let's begin. When the road you take is just not working, look to those who know the path we're taking. No matter whatever it might take, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. No matter how the ground beneath me shakes, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. Oh, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. When the road you take is just not working, look to those who know the path we're taking. If you're looking for a sign to change it today, whatever it might take, I'm all in. No matter how the ground beneath me shakes, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. No matter whatever it might take, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. No matter how the ground beneath me shakes, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in. Oh, I'm all in. Yes, I'm all in.
GM, everybody. Good morning. I'm all in. Yeah, buddy. We are just cruising down the road, getting ready to see everybody at the party. And like I was saying yesterday, not just see everybody, not just party, but get something incredibly pivotal out of this. And being able to, come back a new person with new ideas, clear direction, more action. So what are you going to get out of this event? Some of you can only attend on Zoom, so you'll be making the best of it. I get it. But yeah, super excited. All in. So welcome to Takeoff Tuesday. Not sure how long I'll have the signal. It's actually working out great right now. So yeah. What did you guys do yesterday? Did you reach out to some more people? Did you write down some of the things you want to get out of the training? The other person, yesterday when I listed off some people, I want to meet John Pennington and get something from him. I want to get something out of my interaction with Garrett, Troy Dunn. And someone else popped into my head last night, Gavin McCaleb. That dude is amazing. The real estate coach, the guy who's done everything from commercial, wholesaling, short sales, foreclosures. He's coached I don't know how many people. That guy's going to be there I shot him a message too, and we'll be spending some time together. So it's not just taking the class. Well, that's nice. It's also about building the relationship, and we got to work hard at it. We got to be there. We got to try. I recently got reminded of a book called Mr. Schmooze. Big shout out to Dell Jensen for telling me about that. Mr. Schmooze is all about building relationships. How the guy went around and built a network of 500 people, and each of those people knew 1,000 people. So he's like, just in this city alone, I know, or I can contact 500,000 people, and just going that little bit extra. So I was thinking about that. How can I apply some of these Mr. Schmooze tactics to what I've learned from the book? So anyway, take a quick pull over here so I can talk to you guys. Okay, Takeoff Tuesday. What else we got here? Anthony GM. Good morning, Doug. Winkler's in the house. Good morning. Deborah and Gosha. Oh, Mary's here. Right on, Mary. Bradley and Eddie are here. GM to you too. Steve. Oh, cool, 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 cool. Lorraine, Heidi. Excellent. And there's Mr. Billy Predebon. GM to you too. I'll make you co-host. There we go. There we go. Awesome. Deborah's out for a walk, get some fresh air. Good. Get the blood pumping. Awesome. We'll take off Tuesday. We don't skip even when it's party week. And I'm grateful to have Bill here. And, you know, as we were looking at our plans, I know a lot of you got some big deals that you're working on now. You got some stuff under contract. You're looking at solving some problems with that and pushing those deals forward. One of the best people to push a deal forward and get some guidance from is Bill Predebon. That guy has done so many deals, had to overcome so many different hurdles, obstacles, even had to handle some stuff in court. I don't have that much experience, but that guy has been able to get a real world education and knows how to solve the problems, push deals past the finish line, cash those big checks, celebrate, and get back to work. He's been a great example of building an empire, not just having a real estate job. Like we were talking about yesterday, how many people get wrapped up in a 20, 25, 30-year career in real estate, but they don't have an empire. And Bill has definitely defined himself in that world as empire builder, and refused to have a life of mediocrity. Has set a great example for all of us to want to keep building. So let's give a big warm welcome. Let's talk about some deals. Let's make a big difference. Mr. Bill Predebon, GM.
Woohoo! What's up, folks? Good to see everybody.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more about career versus empire and what that means to you.
Well, career, what do you mean career versus empire? Like,
Well, it seems to me like when we're out there recruiting, we're talking to people and they're like, oh, I've been in real estate 20 years. I don't think I need your program. And then we've come to find out they don't even own a house, or maybe they only own one, but they've been a realtor, an inspector, an appraiser, a contractor for 20, 25, 30 years, working at a title company, but never amassed anything. So when they quit, it's just over, right? There's nothing to pass on. Your kids can't inherit your career, but they can inherit your empire, so to speak.
well, you know, whatever choice people make, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is you don't, education and ignorance stand out. And ignorance isn't stupidity, it's just not knowing, right? So, um, when there was one defining thing, not one, but one of the defining things with Renatus in my first experience back when it was Bob's old company and I got started was that, I just, again, I think people have a hard time making decisions sometimes, and or they're unsure about making a decision. But like I made the decision that real estate was where I was going to make a living, and the more I learned from the education, the more I realized it's also where I wanted to hold my wealth, right? Because so many people do. And then applying Think and Grow Rich and applying Rich Dad Poor Dad and things like that, where you make a certain amount of money over and above what you owe. And with creative financing, real estate gives you the opportunity to acquire wealth without having to have the money itself, right? Most other investment opportunities take money. So you have to make money at your paycheck, and then you move the money before you take the money from taxes to get taxed on it. You don't take it, you send it somewhere tax free. So you have a little bit more money to work with. And then you put that money to work and it grows while you're not working. So either way, so if someone is in a real estate career, if we think about it, it's okay. But if they're not putting money away, then in any other type of retirement, and and then they don't have any houses, then at the end of their career, they've just worked for a living. And, so I think it does take education. People don't want to, they wait for a financial planner, they wait to start investing, they wait because, they have time, they think they have time, or I think even if people were to listen to Dave Ramsey early on, and they're young, right? And they may or may not be single, whether they are or not, but they maybe hold off to have children. And then when they're young, you have a lot more energy. You work longer hours, you're new to the job, you're trying to climb a ladder, whatever you're doing in your career, then you put the majority of your income away. If he says you put 40% away, eat 30 to 40% of your income, by the time you're mid-30s, you're doing pretty well. If you're not over $500,000 to $1 million in your mid to late 30s, just because you're putting 40, but who wants to put 40% of, make a $80,000 income or $100,000 income, take home, let's just say they took home 75,000 of it, and then take 30% of that and throw another 25,000 at a retirement, or a nest egg, then or buying real estate, then they're living on a $50,000 income, and no one wants to do that, right? They want to live on a $100,000 income. But anyway, so I think for us here, it was, for me and for us, here's the thing. I love real estate because with the Burr method, with creative financing, DSCR loans, business loans, owner financing, all of the creative acquisitions mixed in with the ability to work on a foreclosure, door knock for a foreclosure deal, or a deal that's in trouble. Even MLS stuff that's been sitting around, you can make offers, you can use hard money, you can use a lot of other people's money, and you can be the majority owner of the property. Then when time goes by, you improve the property through fix up, through increasing rents, through increasing income, and you can own the asset with little to no money of your own at all. Now, it is important, I think, that you have a job, or that you have income, and that you have reserves, because owning real estate is never passive. Unless you own a REIT, you invest in a REIT or something like that, or some sort of fund. But if you are the owner of real estate, even with a property manager, not passive income. It is not mailbox freaking money. That, in my opinion, is a myth. So, so it takes money to own real estate. If you own Apple stock, you don't have to keep putting money into it. You're not fixed. You don't have any phone calls. There's always a trade-off. But you can't own Apple stock. I mean, you could borrow other people's money, but not that many people are going to lend you money to go buy Apple stock or Tesla stock, because if it goes down, or there's no asset to take from you. There's no recovery. There's no security. As you guys know, this is real estate 101, right? But as far as career goes and then building an empire, it was just a decision I made that that we wanted to own real estate for a lot of reasons. And one was I was doing it in areas, or like this lake house areas, when we bought in Solana Beach, California, right on the beach. We were doing it where the appreciation was greater than average. We were doing where rents were high demand, areas where there was a lot of demand for rental income, and people needing a house to live in or wanting a nice vacation house. And then I did it for tax purposes, right? So because of the real estate opportunities, when I do have, we have large income years, I'm able to keep a majority of that money and put it back into real estate or spend it on vacations and not have to pay a lot of taxes on it. As far as income tax goes, right? There are tax defers that I have to deal with, and there, of course, there's property taxes I have to deal with and things like that. But it's definitely a little less than, I don't get to 8%. There was a time when I was making maybe 100 to 200,000 a year, but when you make, 300, 400, 500, I'm definitely paying double digit tax, but it's not 20 or 30%. It's in the teens. So, but you're still stroking a check for freaking $100,000 to the IRS. It's a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. But, so, anyway, I think that, from what I know, it's just, I think everybody here on this call has the opportunity to learn about different things: gold, crypto. Um, I'm not against a portfolio. I'm not against a manager that manages money, and understands the market, and is really puts a lot of attention. My only experience with them is in corporate after I quit skiing, before I bought into Play It Again Sports. And I had a 2-year career in advertising sales, and I met with that person a couple of times, right? And there was only one person, and that whatever funds they and it was very short interview on what my risk tolerance. And I was 28 years old, and I was like, well, I don't know what I just jumped off an 80-foot cliff, so maybe I have a lot of risk tolerance. So let's go into whatever the heck you think I should go into. You know what I mean? Like, that was the extent of it. I didn't have any knowledge or experience in the market, so like, it didn't even make sense for me to be giving him, the only reason I did it is because the company matched it. It was absolute ignorance. And at the end of the day, when I quit the job in 2 years and became an entrepreneur again, because I hated that. I mean, I liked the job, but I just was terrible at working for somebody. But I cashed out the 401k and took my 40%, kick in the face, and tax and penalties, and ended up with half the money that I put in there in the first place. So it is just, ignorance will set us back, and will prevent us from doing things. But it's, again, the other thing is, it's hard to, I don't know if hard's the right word. I don't have experience and understanding, and I don't know a lot of people who are so diverse that they're so trained in everything: real estate, crypto, gold, and minerals, and hard surfaces, or what's the word I'm looking for? for gold and silver, or the S&P 500. I don't know anybody, right? Most people have a skill set. They have a precious metals. Thank you. They have perfect. They have a knowledge and an experience and a mentor in that field, and that's what they spend their time on. So that's what they invest in. So I think as we get a little older, you start to have some real estate because that's what we're studying. That's what we know. That's what we understand. That's what we appreciate. And that's how we decide we want to help people too. If that's the case, then we invest in real estate. And then when you start to have a portfolio and, no, I don't think any particular investment gets you to the finish line. It gets you to a certain point. There's a reason why the monopoly game is you buy hotels and or houses and you just don't, you get to 4 and then you trade them in for a hotel. Like that literally happens, right? I've had a triplex for 7 years now that I'm tearing it down and building 6 brand new units and making it a 7-plex, right? We're living up here more often than not now. We're going to go back to Phoenix and then buying down in Florida, but the demand up here is outrageous. Like after COVID, this area just took off, and the university's growing 30% in the next less than a decade, which is significant. They're going to go from 7,000 students to 10,000 students in 7 years. And there's no housing. Like the guys that I'm meeting that are doing real estate up here are absolutely crushing it. And I would have never thought that this small ass town would be a place I'd want to own real estate in. But my wife's like, Bill, we could sell one house in Phoenix and have 3 free and clear up here, essentially, with the equity I have in those down there. So we're going to diversify a little bit. I'm going to get a property manager and buy a few houses up here. The problem is I don't have, I don't know any contractors really up here that works hard to come by. It takes them, there's some of the builders here, you guys. World of Wood is the #1 builder in town. There's some really good general contractors that build as well, but those guys are building commercial. Like they're just like one guy, this guy, probably the richest guy in town, him and his brothers, their dad started the company. I'll get to a topic too here in a minute, and any questions or thoughts, just chime in, man. Just girls and guys, just raise your hand, come off mute, whatever you want to talk about. But I got a few things that I was thinking of today based on what Michael's been training for the last several weeks. But they're out. If you were to hire World of Wood to build you a house up here, it's 2 years out. They're not even taking anybody until 2027. And there's just such a demand. And I'm telling you, that's new construction, right? Or that's a full-blown interior remodel. Like if you bought a house today and you wanted to remodel it, your own house or whatever, or make a nice Airbnb, and you wanted to hire World of Wood, if you wanted to hire Jeff Pelcher, if you wanted to hire, I went to school with him, if you want to hire these, they're out a year to 2 years. You got to basically GC the thing yourself. You got to take my class and do that because there's not a lot of opportunity. There's just not that much opportunity in this town to build. I'm currently in, that's awesome. I'm in a small college town called Houghton, Michigan. I'm in the northern part of Michigan, up by Canada and Wisconsin. So I'm not in lower Michigan, down by Detroit, I'm actually above the Mackinac Bridge. But the town, the city, the university is Michigan Technological University, MTU, Michigan Tech. They're D1 in hockey and they're D2 in everything else. They only have 7,500 students, but they're a top-notch engineering school. And the area is an absolute tourism destination. And very much like Northern Arizona, it's become year-round. It used to be the summer, right? You come up for fishing and boating and all that stuff. Now it is a winter wonderland. They've opened up the snowmobile trail, or it could be vice versa. But now they have mountain biking in the summer, like national mountain bike single track trails in Copper Harbor. They have Mount Bohemia, which is rated #1 in ski resorts in North America. I mean, it has salt spas. They have these yurts now. It's it's steep and deep. It's just what they're doing. And this is all over the country. Like things like this are putting areas on the map. And number one is our population is growing. You listen to Bob Snyder and you hear Chris Wilson talk about this or any other economic expert, and we can't get around the population growth. That's why they're talking about places like Utah and Las Vegas and Florida and Denver and North Carolina, where housing, the median house by 2030 is going to be, close to 800 to $1 million, because it's not because the house is getting better or bigger. It's the demand for the property from the population. Anyway, and there's just not that much land. So anyway, that's where I'm at. But the town, Northern Arizona has done the same thing. They've made it year round. They've created destination purposes for tourism and or part-time living, especially with the amount of remote work you can do, in areas that have a lot to offer: fishing, camping, hiking, boating, snowmobiling, winter sports, ski resorts, cross-country skiing. Like the tech cross-country trails, this one guy came from the Olympic team, started teaching at Tech or something, and him and this team, they created the cross-country trails. They use them for the Olympic tryouts, the Olympic trials. They're just unbelievably the amount and the skill set of these trails. And we never had that growing up here. We cross country ski, but you just went out your backyard through the woods, grandmother's house, or over the woods you go, and that Christmas song or whatever the heck it is. So anyway, just food for thought on what we're doing with the career. The other thing I can tell you about real estate, folks, is I don't know where you guys are and girls are in your careers, but number one, it's never too late, right? Because you think about when you and this is a hard fact. Like, I think this is a fact for most of the time, right? There's very few people, in my opinion, in my experience, that I shouldn't say very few, but it's an elite group of people or some that go through a career and then become a consultant and they get paid more than they were in their career. As people get older in their careers, they get phased out. They get let go. They're getting replaced with younger, less expensive people, so on and so forth. And so it becomes harder to make more money and have your money grow for you at the end of your career in most cases. But with real estate, it's interesting. You could be 60 and acquire property free and clear of your own money, right? You can acquire property with equity, with the right skill set, right? With the right knowledge and maybe the right mentor, whatever it is. And you can acquire with other people's money, and you can own the whole thing yourself as the sole owner of the LLC that owns the property, and you'd own all the equity, and you wouldn't have any money in it. The bank would have money in it, the hard money lender, the DSCR lender, the private lender, whatever it is, and then you fix it up. You increase the income. You wait a couple years for it to go up in value. You hit it at the right time when the rates come down and the market goes up, and you refinance it. You don't refinance to pull out your cash like everybody did in 2007. You don't refinance for stupid things. You refinance for the purpose of having either a lower mortgage or eliminating the debt that you have on there with better debt, right? But you take the risk in acquiring the property with higher end debt, because that's how you're going to get it, right? You got to have someone take a risk in the beginning, so that if they're going to give you their money, they're going to charge you more money for it. Not necessarily the private lender, but the hard money lenders and stuff, right? No bank's going to give you 100% financing on, and you're not going to get traditional financing when you go out and buy these houses. So you get the untraditional financing to begin with, and then you even get an untraditional loan like a DSCR, a credit-based loan, a business-based loan that will take out the other debt. Anyway, so you can do that at any age, and you can create income through rental income, right? You can create tax benefits. You can create shelters for taxes, and you can put the money into an estate so you can pass it through to your family free and clear, or not free and clear, but tax free, right? Inherent tax free. And then you can also Velocity Bank the thing. If you, you got to have income, you got to have a line of credit, you got to be able to increase your credit, which we have all those classes. Like it's just, but it takes time and it takes a belief and it takes a little effort and it takes some risk. I mean, it's not always going to work, you guys and girls. It's not, you're going to lose sometimes. You're going to make mistakes, but you can always sell the asset. You can always defer the loss. You can always, you know, pay back lenders in a different way, or work, you got to do it smart. But there's always going to be, there's always going to be issues. But anyway, I was thinking, reminds me kind of what I would, and again, I'm looking at the chat. I got it right here. Michael's driving across country heading to Denver. I leave tomorrow morning at 8:30. But if you got anything, you want to come off mute, you want to add in, you want to chime in, you want to raise your hand, whatever you want, feel free. I don't know, obviously, I would assume a lot of you are going. I know Deborah said looking forward to seeing you. I know a lot of these names, you guys are close to Utah or live in Utah, so it's easier to get there. For you and your team, for those people who aren't going, for your team members that aren't going or have said no, or, it's interesting. There is something about being an entrepreneur and being an investor. Um, and there is something to be said for last minute decisions, risk taking decisions, um, calculated risk taking decisions. And what I mean by that is like, you know, and it's a tough scale to be on. Um, when you got to weigh the options, but sometimes last minute decisions to just go and risk it all, if you're not going to the event and you decide, and it's weighing on you a little bit. Um, and there's reasons, right? It's work, family, all these things. But when we sacrifice a lot, when there is trouble behind the decision, when you can't make everybody happy, right? Um, I'm not saying defy someone's wishes by any means, but um, and this isn't, I'm not necessarily just speaking to you. I'm speaking to you for your future people and your family and things like that. When when there's a lot at stake and you make a very difficult decision, sometimes you get the best out of it, right? You go to the event with your back against the wall. Like you've got to come home with some fish in your bucket, right? If that makes sense. You kind of burned a bridge, to get there. Those sometimes are turning points. I know they have been for me on many, many occasions. Um, I sometimes have done it without even discussing it, which is not necessarily the right way to do it. Um, or I think that I've discussed it when really I just mentioned it and then I made a decision without discussing it. Uh, I'm not saying to do it that way either. You may not be on the same page, but at least you can, if your significant other is not necessarily on this, and again, if they're not in the same boat with you, and you're doing this path on your own to help your family, but your family, needs you in other ways, then it doesn't mean they don't want you to do it. It's just that they have a priority over what your priority is. But and sometimes that's the same goes with your boss or your kids' events at school and parent teacher conferences. These are things you don't want to miss. They're things that, games, football games, basketball games, student affairs, concerts, whatever your kids are into, you don't want to miss them. But sometimes, and not all the time, but there are times when these sacrifices are what catapults you into the next level, right? So especially when the event's in 2 days and you haven't bought your ticket, right? And you've got to come up with a place to live. You've got to be resourceful. you've got to cover your ass on work, events, picking up kids at school, your animals, you got to get a dog. Like there's a lot of expense. There's a lot of, you know, things you got to knock off your list in order to make this happen. And sometimes that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I mean, that's what it takes to make money. That is not the standard. And it's not reckless. It's not fly by the seat of your pants, which, you know, I don't recommend, even though I've done it too many times. Usually you do get burned sometimes on that case, but, you know, sometimes it's good. It builds character, but, you know, you don't want to be building character at the risk of your family and your dogs and cats and your job. So, yeah, go ahead. Oh, Celeste. Okay, cool. We can do that in just a minute. But anyway, you know, it goes as far as these type of conversations and thinking also goes to, you know, upgrading your Renatus education, or, you know, getting one of your students and your clients to, you know, to move forward on the education. Like, you know, I don't, when we get all our ducks in a row to make a decision, usually this decision is come and gone, and the opportunity is missed, and the urgency is gone. And when we do everything when everything's perfect, it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same urgency. It doesn't have the same meaning. It doesn't have the same influence on your life. It's just a thing you do, right? When you take a trip, when after you close a deal and everything's perfect, you know, there's no adversity, right? There's no stress. That's for when we've made it. But in the meantime, when we're trying to make it, you know, we have to make decisions that really test us and push us and make us think on our feet, and have to work while we're on vacation, and have to put things together, have to come up with ways to cover our job, and figure out how to not get fired but still go to the event, or still, you know, if I'm going to stay home, you know, what day can I at least watch part of the event, you know, instead of just all or nothing, you know, just making something work, where if we're going to be there, we're going to pay attention, because we risked up, we decided not to be somewhere else. We decided not to go to a certain event that we were being counted on to be at. So it's got to be worth our while. And maybe then we'll find what we're looking for, that we can take advantage of it on Monday and put it into action, if that makes sense. So let's switch gears. And again, if anybody has any thoughts, comments, or questions, we can jump in. We can come back to that in a second here. Go ahead, Celeste, with what you've got going on with your deal.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so this deal is something I have been following since 2019. So the woman reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and she wants to talk. The house has been sitting empty for 5 years. It was a hoarder situation. All the ceilings have fallen in. Now, this is a big mess. However, it's 2.5 minutes from my house. I just was looking at a comp on this particular, well, in iOS, it's showing that the ARV for this house is 526. All of the houses to the right of it right now are listed for like, their range is like 427, 450 to even as high as 555. There's a lot that is pristine, 1 acre. This is an estate on 1 acre, 0.17. And the lot is, they had it for 179 in March. I'm sorry, in April. Didn't No offers, and then they dropped it to like 148. 2 offers, still it's for sale. And the reason I'm bringing that up, because I'm trying to decide what is my offer price. There's another property, similar in size and location. They wanted 157. It's been on the market for over 530 days. So back to the property itself, pretty trashed up. You can't even really get into the foyer because there's so much stuff. And like I said, the ceilings fell down. There's like, it's 2,200 square feet. It's a 4-2, and I don't think that's including the basement because then we're at like 3,300. I've already, and I am talking, this is it would be direct to the seller, so there's no wholesaler involved. As soon as I arrived at the property, the lady's like, it's a tear down. Okay, great. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how much do I want to get the property for? In my mind, I'm figuring about 100,000 is my offer price. And I wanted to wait and let her give me her number, but I don't want, if this turns out to be amazing, I don't want them to feel like I've taken advantage either. So I guess I'm in your class right now listening to the ground up, trying to get all these questions and so forth. But I've already had two estimates for a complete clean out. The first one was 25,000. Yesterday's was 30,000 to have all the trees and peripheral cleared out so we can even get in there and work. It's 3,800, which is fine. I want to get the house like sealed up for the winter work. I have two contractors who are both masters, and I would have them both working the deal. Maybe one's going to do upstairs, the other, I'm going to let them kind of pick what they want to work on because I want this to be, I want to get this turned around quickly. I know it's quick. I'm thinking like 2 months, get this job done in 2 months. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but the contractors, I have literally, the one contractor is like 2 doors down from my house. He leveled his house and did from the ground up. At first I said 6 months to get it done, but now I have pushed it to 2 months. Reason being, we can always go over, right? So I'm shooting for the best, and at least I didn't say a year. The second contractor, I have been following him. He's a master. He used to manage 150 guys at McCormick Place, which is a big venue down in the city. I've witnessed him and watched him for 5 years. I see his work. Both of these contractors want to see me do good in the deal. So anyway, I won't continue to chat. Do you have any questions that are immediately coming to mind?
So yeah, I got a lot.
Okay.
So, and anybody else wants to chime in, feel free.
Okay.
So number one, generally speaking, something is worth, when something's being offered at 20% of value and it's not sold and someone hasn't scooped it up, I want to know what the problem is, right? So there's a problem with the property. It's not just the fact that it's a hoarder house. There's a problem.
Well, let me just say, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have been following it since 2019. It wasn't on the market. Nobody knows about it. It was sitting there because they didn't know what to do. One sibling's in Maryland, the other's indifferent, the other's even further indifferent. The dad's still alive, the mom died. So I had been in communication with the mom while she was alive, and then it started to be like she's not responding. I called, to have the police come in and do a wellness check. She's gone. So anyway, I sent a message. The executor reached out to me. So this is off market. And this is the condition of the property. They want to sell it. That's the bottom line. I'm the one who came up with this $100,000 based on the two lots that are down the way. So, okay, I'll be quiet.
It's okay. So, okay. So what I believe to be the problem is that it is a tear down. How much can your contractors build a house for? How big is the house? How big is the house that's sold for, or that is it on sale or is it sold at 550?
I have, let's see, I have 4 active deals, and everyone, so
4 active deals. You're working on 4 projects, or
no. This is from iOS. I have 4 active deals in the radius, probably, I don't need, maybe a mile from the subject property. Let's see. One is for 798, another's from 975, the other's 499, which is, let's call it 4 blocks away, and the other is 680. So everything's high value. The house
what are the
is
size of the houses? What's the square footage of the houses that are for sale, these active properties?
They are varying from, let's see, one is actually a 5.4, the other is a 5.5, the other is a 2.3, and the other
How
is
big are the 5.4s and 5.5s?
uh, okay. So let's see. Okay. My this let's see. One that the 3.2 for 467 is 29.32. The one that is a 4.2, 3,400 square feet, listed on Zillow for
All
555.
right. So if you build a house that's 3,500 square feet and it only costs you, which I don't know how you could do it in today's day and age, but it only costs you $100 a foot to build the house from the foundation up, right? That's $350,000. If you buy the house for 100 grand, you're at 450. If you tear it down and get it cleaned out for 50 grand, that's 500. If you sell a $500,000 house at, let's just call it 5%, that's $25,000, right? If you carry the house for 6 months to get it done at, let's just call it 10,000 a month. Well, let's just call it 5 grand a month. That's $25,000. It's 30 grand, but we'll call it 25 in carrying costs. So you're at 600,000 and you haven't even sold the house yet or made a profit. So if you want to put in 600 grand to make 100 grand, you'd have to sell a 3,500 square foot house for $700,000 with everything to work. Everything would have to go well to make 100 grand. That's why no one's buying the house, because it's a teardown in an area that's requiring people to pay 500 to 700 grand for a property. Now, if you knock it out of the park and you buy it for 100 and you sell it for 900 and you build a 4,000 square foot house for, call it 500,000, and you make $250,000 and everything goes well, but you're able to sell a 5.5 at 4,000 square feet, a 2-story house, and you get everything done and you sell it at 900, you might make 250. But if you can't sell the house for more than 700,000, there's no profit in this house. I don't know any contractor that's going to build it for $100 a square foot. But you're talking about a 3,500 square foot house minimum to get a 4.2. So the other thing is, nobody's, even if the contractor can work 24 hours a day and build a house in 2 months, it's going to take you, no city is going to permit the whole thing in 2 months. You're going to have to get an architect to draw the plans and get it approved. It's going to take 2 to 4 months. You're going to then start building the house and you're going to have a minimum of 7 inspections. You're going to have a foundation inspection, an underground inspection. You're going to have a sticks inspection. You're going to have a drywall inspection. You're going to have a rough plumbing, rough electric, rough HVAC, roof inspection, stairs inspection, right? Before you even get to the point where you can dry it all in and you can go to cosmetics to get a final inspection. So no city works in a 2-month period. It's going to take 6 months minimum to build a house and get through all the inspections. That's after you go 2 to 4 months to get the plans. That's why it has to take no less than 6 months to build a house.
Well, I'm not actually going to do the tear down. That was the mindset of
Well,
the
that's
lady.
fine. You don't, but you're still going to be leaving 2 walls. Like if it's a hoarder house and the ceiling's falling down, you're going to get all new trusses. It takes 6 weeks to get trusses ordered, right? They got to come out, measure the roof, and they actually have to do from the plan. They actually go on site, so they can't make a truss that's an inch too long, and then it won't fit on the house. The framing will be off. So you got to order the wood. You got to order appliances. So what I'm saying is, it might not be a tear down, and you could use the foundation, but how big's the house right now?
Well, I would keep the original footprint because it's
Yeah,
a
how big
great
is it?
house. It's 22.
So there's
Well,
no houses in the area that are comping out at 2,200 feet. So you have to build more square footage or it won't sell for 400,000. Because everything else you just said was between 2,900 for the 3.2 Then there's 4,500 for the 4.2 or 3,400 square feet for the 4.2. So if these comps are what you have to use as your measurement for your house, you could finish the basement, which is fine. So then you have the original footprint and finish the basement, put you at 3,000 square feet, right? But you still have to eliminate all of the sticks. If it's been vacant and weatherproofed, and you all those sticks are probably bad. The majority of the walls are gone unless they're brick walls. You're going to tear all that wood out. It's rotted. It has no value. And if the house is old, you're probably going to replumb everything, especially if you're going to make bigger bedrooms, add a bathroom, put in an island kitchen with electric. You're going to all the underground plumbing and electric, everything or whatever coming out of the basement or whatever's in the walls, that's going to be all new electric, all new plumbing, all new HVAC, all new roof, all new drywall, all new plumbing. All the only thing you're keeping is concrete. So it's not a new build, but it essentially is. So it's still, even there, you're $100 a square foot. If you don't have to do foundation, you're only saving like 50 grand. But you're still going to need a permit. You're still going to have to go get an architect to build the whole thing, draw it all out, get it approved by the city. I'm not saying it's a bad deal. If it was me, to answer your very first question on what your offer is, this is my offer. I walk up, you're direct to seller. You've been following it since 2019. You love the area. You're 2 minutes from the house. These are all things your seller's going to love. You're not getting an answer. No one's been making an offer for 5 years. Why don't you carry me? I don't want to pay.
They're willing.
What?
They already said they're willing to do that.
Right. So I would give them a profit share or a $50,000 offer or 100. If you're going to give them $100,000 offer, you put nothing down and they put their $100,000 at risk. And you walk in there and you say, at the end of the day, if I sell it for this and I make this and I make $200,000, you get 100. If I make 50, you get 50. Or, if I make 100, you get 50. That way you don't have anything to pay for the house. You know what I mean? And you give them a guarantee of 25 grand or a guarantee of 50,000. And that's it. You have to eliminate your risk on that. And you have to go through this. It's going to take some time. I mean, maybe once they get the plans and you tear down the house or you tear all the walls and did you say it was $25,000 to tear out the stuff, or 2,500?
25,000, and I had 2 demo guys.
I would take your kids or your friends from Renatus and I would go do it yourself. Get a 40-yard, 2 40-yard dumpsters, a couple pickup trucks, and start doing it yourself. There's no way it's 25,000 to take out a hoarder's house.
That's what 2 separate companies said to me.
Yeah, that's because they don't want to do it. I mean, it doesn't even make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I tear down an entire house, take out the foundation, take out the roof, take out the HVAC, throw everything in the dumpster for $20,000.
Mm.
So there's no way to clear out a house that costs 20 grand. I mean, I'm talking about taking out the concrete in a concrete dumpster, 3 or 4 of them, and going dumping them and paying dump fees for concrete and having them bring heavy equipment and move the entire house off the lot and scrape it down and grade it. And so I'm ready to build up and pour a new foundation. And that's only 18 to 20,000 bucks.
Mm.
So there's no way these bids are right. But I would absolutely go to I would show my cards to the seller, the estate person, the executor, and the mom, or whoever it is you're talking to, and just be like, listen, I've got experience in this. I'm paid to study. I know what I'm doing. I've got the right contractors. I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and this. My problem is this, 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 and this. I got to, everybody else is selling 4,500 square feet. You and I both know nobody can build this house for under $100 a square foot. Find out what it's going to cost to build it from sticks up per foot, roughly, right? And then you can fudge the numbers on the finishes based on what finishes you get, right? That'll bring down your costs when you go to a lesser expensive countertop or less expensive appliances so that you're not maxing out the budget. But the sticks, the drywall, the HVAC, that is what it is. That's going to be, you get your 3 bids, whatever you have your contractor get your 3 bids, but that's going to be it. It is what it is. All those rough things you're not going to get around. The decisions you can make are are you going to spend $100 on a set of you know, street lights that are outside the house? And, you know, are you going to add an awning? Are you going to add a $2,000 electric fireplace or a $500 one? You know what I mean? Those are the where you'll save your money. But the the deal is you want to go to this seller and you want to be like, I'm scared to death, give you 100 grand for this house, but I want to give you 100 grand. So therefore, let's do it this way. What's the worst they're going to do? Counter you? They know you're serious. They're going to say, well, they probably have something in mind that they need cash wise. You know, they got 3 kids, each wants 30 grand. They got 4 kids that inherited the house. They all want 20,000. Whatever it is, they got bills they got to pay. They got to put mom up in a home. They've got some number they're looking at. They're going to counter you to that cash. And the hopes that they can get more later on is even better, right? But if they're willing to carry you already, let them carry part of the burden. I mean, they're stuck with an absolute piece of trash that has no value, that's actually costing them money. And if it wasn't that, then someone would have already made them a nice offer to buy it. But the lot itself and the comps around there are not bringing $1 million comps. So you can't build a 4,000 square foot house at $150 a foot and make a profit on this deal. It's, you know, that's 600,000 to build that nice house. You can't do it. There's no room.
So Celeste, what are you hearing Bill say?
Well, I know it's a big project. When I had the first contractor walk through it, the second one has not. It sounds like some is still salvageable. Some of the walls are salvageable. Why all the ceilings fell in could be a humidity case. I already know because I did a FOIA. I thought maybe we could have it burned down, but the fire department won't do it because there's mold and all of
Okay,
this kind of stuff.
let's do a quick scenario.
Okay.
2,200 square foot footprint. And what did you say the basement is?
Probably another 1,000. It's yeah, it's like it looks like it was a finished basement, but I can't get in there. But I think there is another
3,200 square feet doesn't even sell, according to what the very few comps you gave me, which is fine. It may go higher. Doesn't even sell for 450, right? Because it's going to be a 4.2 and it's going to be only 3,200 square feet. So you're probably looking at 400 grand, right? So in order to build out cosmetically 3,200 square feet, it's a minimum in today's market of $50 a square foot cosmetically, not including tear down, acquisition, or anything. So 3,200 square feet times $50 a square foot. Let's round up to $200,000 to build the house, right? So if you can keep some walls, maybe keep some plumbing, maybe keep some electric, maybe there's nothing wrong with your trusses, and you keep your 2,200 square foot footprint, and you finish out a basement. We all know what it costs to finish out 1,000 square foot basement. I mean, you got to bring electric, HVAC, insulation. You got to do, I mean, the whole thing. If it's not finished, then there's an entire world down there that has to be done in order to make it livable, countable space, including a permit, ingress, egress, right? They've got to be able to get out of the house if they're going to be living in the basement. You can't have humidity problems. You can't have mold. You can't have water systems down there. So you've got, you know, water drainage. So you have to dry it in all in order to make a finished basement in Utah or Colorado, all these places, right? These are things you have to worry about. So let's just say 1,000 square feet is, let's say it's only $30 a foot, right? So if it's 30, that's another 30 to 50,000 to finish out the basement. So we got to think about what it's going to cost to do, even if some things are salvageable. So if you buy it for 100 and it costs you 250, you're at 350. If the house sells for 4, you've lost money. If you can make a 3,200 square foot house sell for 500 grand and it costs you 25 to sell it, and you're into it for 375 and 25,000 in carrying costs, then you can make possibly what? 100,000 if you could sell it for 500, 75,000 if you could sell it for 475. Now these are really rough, quick numbers, right? And I know you're probably not following me on this necessarily, everybody, because you don't have a pen and paper or whatever, but I'm just doing real quick math. And again, so it's still a deal, but that's a lot of work for a $50,000 rehab. I mean, for a $50,000 profit.
Well, I think that the potential for the ARV, I'm being super conservative, and I think the ARV minimum's 450 across the street, which is completely a different neighborhood. You know, those are seven, 800, $900,000 houses. It's very desirable. Every one of these lots are 1 acre plus. I want to keep that footprint. The whole peripheral, the 4 foot peripheral, we'll call it, is all stone with 2 stone fireplaces. So it's like the main level, 2,200. Then I guess the first floor, we'll call it. It looked like it could have been more living space. And I think there's still a ground level basement, which if that were the case, we just, keep that clean. The floor painted, the wall painted, the ceiling painted, generic, nothing going on there. First floor, walk out, yes. And then of course the main living
Okay.
upstairs, yes.
So here's a tip from my class, right? And this is
Yeah.
what right? There's some decisions that need to be made. I don't know where I was just going to say. So if you keep a lot of the walls and stuff, it becomes a fix and flip. And the fix and flip class might be the class you want to watch, because that is where we make decisions based on what we think the house will look like and should be, right? But again, you're talking about a 3,200 square foot house if you don't add any square footage, right? You still need a permit, but you aren't adding square footage. So it's a quicker permit, number one, and you realistically don't need an architect because you already have the footprint. All you need is a permit for electric and plumbing if you're going to change that. If you're not going to change it, you're really doing cosmetics. If you're only doing cosmetics and you're not moving plumbing and electric or even structural, then you don't need a permit. If you only have a structural issue, or if you only have to do electric, you could just get an electric permit or just get an individual permit. No problem. Those are over the counter. You call them up, you get an electric permit, and then you're done. Very easy. So what I'm saying is you got to comp out 3,200 square foot houses because that's the footprint. Now, if it was me and I was doing this deal and there's houses across the street that have brick on them, right? When you get into brick, the brick I put on my last new construction, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $17 a linear foot. It was huge for material and labor. It's not cheap at all. That exterior brick, it's beautiful. It really is a great accent, but it's not cheap. So we love it. It's one of the best things that we did on the house. But I'm putting on what's called wood plank exterior on this other new construction I'm doing right now. That stuff for like 600 square feet of a side of a house is $20,000 installed. It's super expensive.
Mm.
Anyway, so I would look, if you have a neighborhood across the street that's a completely different neighborhood, but still on an acre lot, that are 4,000 square foot homes, and they're selling for 900,000, and this is a tear down, and you buy it for 100 grand, right? And you build 4,000 square feet, if that's the case of these houses, at 150 a foot, and you're at 600, you're at 700, you got an opportunity to make 150 grand, possibly, right? But it's tight. You really got to look at what the house is and how much it's going to cost. And I would say, I would walk the contractors over to the house that you're looking at and say, how much can you build that house for right there? And the guy would be like, oh, I could build that for 200 grand. You know what I mean? And then that's where you're going to base your budget on. But when we fix and flip, we don't ask anybody what they can build it for. When we fix and flip, we make all the decisions. Oh, I can do this for 20 grand. I can do that for 10. I can buy this. I can do this. And then we just keep adding on, and the fix and flip goes from $40,000 to $140,000 because we really don't have it written out. It's not a guaranteed, thing that's already, we don't have a picture of what we're drawing. We're just making it up as we go. So it's a little bit, there's not more risky. It's just a little bit more undecisive. So if you keep the same footprint, but I think you have a choice. It sounds like to me, and it sounds like if things, and it sounds like you kind of already have a plan. So back to your very original question, regardless of how you want to finish the property and what you want to do to it, I would still ask them to carry. I would ask them for the least amount of money down, like whatever you have in mind.
Mhm.
And let's just say you're like, oh, I could give them 100 grand cash. Okay, then offer them 30,000 cash and see where they go from there. Offer them 100 grand, offer them to carry you at 0% financing for a year on the 70 grand and give them 30 cash. And they come back with 50 cash and 2% financing or 10% financing. And then you go back at 4% financing, whatever it is. And then you figure out how to acquire the 100 grand without really coming out of pocket if you can. And then you spend all your money on fixing the house and you pay them when you sell it.
Yeah, she's willing to totally, she's not asking for any money down because like day one when I met her, I already kind of tossed out there, maybe you would be willing to hold the financing. She was completely okay with that. And so I was thinking, because you're saying 50-50 share. Now that, do I want to really give that much
No,
of
I'm
the
not
money
saying,
away?
oh yeah, if you had, but I was talking about a super small number because if you're not paying anything for the house, I'm not saying give her 100 grand and give her 50 grand.
Okay.
I'm saying you give her half of the profit. If there's no profit, you don't give her anything. She
Well,
doesn't get anything.
well, I rather,
'Cause you have to manage the risk too. It's both sides. And
Right.
Bill's saying that because those two other dudes rejected it at 140, the 100 is still risky. And so if you're going to do 100, the way to risk manage that is they carry it. But if she will carry it and take that risk off, then you can take on the other risk of a 50-50 split on the back end.
yeah,
It's all
nobody has
risk
made,
management. Okay.
okay, but nobody has made any offers on this house. Nobody knows it's for sale. This 148, that was a vacant lot, which is 7 lots down. And that is what they're selling. They originally were asking 178, no offers. Then they dropped it to 148 and it's still sitting. So that's completely, that would be new build. In my thinking, I don't want to call this a rebuild at all because I don't want to do that. I want to be incredibly efficient, keep whatever is possible. The trusses look reasonable according to my contractor, but we're going to get in there again.
Yeah, so you just want to remodel the house.
I want to remodel the house because every reason that you're saying, permits are easier.
So if she doesn't want any cash down and she's willing to carry it, I would have
Mhm.
put it under contract a year ago. Go put it under contract immediately, get a 30-day inspection, and go deal with your contractors for the next 30 days on get your plan up. And if you can't afford whatever it is you offered her on the contract, you renegotiate it out during your inspection period, like any
Mhm.
wholesaler would.
Mhm.
But I would get it under contract so no one else touches it then. If she's willing to carry the whole entire thing with nothing down, and
Mhm.
you want to give her, offer 140, do whatever you want. Listen, I'm going to give you the same amount. I'm going to give you $140,000. Go under contract and go do all your due diligence.
I've been doing all the due diligence for the past couple of weeks. I
I know,
was
but
offering
imagine if
her,
you did all this due diligence and you and I are on the phone right now.
right.
Someone makes an offer to her right now and it goes under contract. You're
Yeah,
out.
that would be a hard lesson learned, painful.
Right. Go get it under contract. Write it for
We are.
140. Write it for 120. Write it for whatever you want. Negotiate it later. Get a 30-day inspection, at least 20-day inspection, and go inspect the heck out of it and get all your ducks in a row with your contractors so you know exactly how much you can afford to pay for the house.
Do you feel that if we arrive at the 100, whatever, and then I offer her 12% interest, everything paid at the closing table at sale? Does that sound reasonable and good?
Why would you pay 12% interest when someone's willing to
No.
give you for 5?
That's not good. Okay.
You make
Wait
them
until they
make an
ask
offer.
for it.
I
Wait
would
for them
go
to
in at
ask for it.
0% interest. I'm going to pay you 120,000. I'm going to pay you when it sells. I'm going to cash you out at closing in 4 months, whatever you think your time frame is. I need a 6-month loan. If you think it's 4 months, get 6 months. If you think it's 6 months, get 12, right? And it's 0% financing, and all you're giving her is the cash that you're offering her. If she says, well, no, I'm not going to carry you for free. Oh, I didn't know that. What I thought you wanted 120,000. Well, I did, but I want 5%. Okay, if you offered 12% and 120 grand, you shot yourself in the foot before you started.
Okay. Okay.
And I definitely wouldn't give her the highest offer you have that you're able to go to. If you think you're able to go to 140, offer 100. If you think you're able to go to 120, offer 80. 80 at 0% financing and see if she says yes. She's never had an offer. She's had the house since 2019. If
these
you're
guys.
forced to make the first offer, you better make it low.
Mhm.
But I would sit there at the negotiating table and I would wait for her to counter me, whether that's on the phone or she's with an attorney. I would get a time frame and I would write a contract and I would have you both execute it. And I would have an inspection period where you can really determine what it is you're going to sell the price for and how much it's going to cost you to build it, to fix it.
Mhm.
So it
Okay.
sounds like you got a good plan. Sounds like you know you're going to remodel it and not tear it down. You're going to probably build out the basement.
Mhm.
You're probably going to need a permit,
Mhm.
would be my guess. But if you don't do plumbing, electric, HVAC, or structural, right, and you don't add square footage, there's no permit. It's all cosmetic. If you tear
Yeah.
everything out, there's no permit. If you're not demoing anything, like the actual building that could fall down, if you're taking out drywall off a ceiling or ceiling plaster or ceiling tiles, that's cosmetic. That doesn't need a permit, right? If you're not but if you're tearing out a wall that could possibly fall down and you got to true it up with some arms, then that would need a structural permit. And all you need is the structure. You've got to get a beam in there, whatever, right? If you're going to open the house up. But if you're not moving plumbing 3 feet, if you're keeping the bathrooms where they are, and but if there's no bathroom in the basement and you're putting a bathroom down there, and you're going to build out the basement, then you're probably going to need a permit, or
Mhm.
you do need a permit. I mean, you're
Okay.
moving electrical and plumbing and HVAC, then you want those permits. And it's
Okay.
just a simple remodel, probably. You can get a remodel permit in 30 days or less.
Okay. Okay. And now with the contractors, what is a good rule of thumb? What would I be paying them? Would I be offering them any like profit? Or what are your thoughts on how I want to approach these two expert contractors who are going to be doing the work?
Well, the first thing I do is I wouldn't edify them that much and let them know you think they're experts.
Okay, too
Right?
late.
I mean,
I already know they are.
I don't know that any contractors are experts. If there's an expert contractor, they typically have a very valid company. And what I mean by that is they typically have retail customers and they make 25 and 20 minimum, over and above what it costs to build. And they also have a fairly significant fudge factor, for issues. And they are going to charge you every time you make a change order. And they're going to charge you significantly for it. So that's what I would consider an expert contractor who has retail contracts and doesn't need to do a fix and flipper's job.
Well,
The
they're
other
both
contract,
basically retired.
what's that?
They're both retired, and just the one guy's been working with this other fix flipper, and they're getting houses done in like a month and a half and 2 months.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah,
Have you watched the negotiations class?
it's been a while ago.
No problem. It's not a cut down or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I would, if they are retired and they built houses, then they know what they want to get paid.
Hmm.
So just ask them, how much is it for you to do this? Let them come out. And then you say, wow, 40,000 to pull out the stuff in the house. How about 20? Right? Or 20,000 to pull out the stuff in the house. How about 5? Why is it so much? I don't understand. Can you explain that to me? What is it you're going to do for $25,000? Right? If they're retired, they've done this their whole life. They don't need the money. They're just doing it for fun and they can build houses in 2 months. They're very efficient. Then they have a pretty good idea what they want to get paid for their work. Why would you guess? Let them
Hmm.
come up with a number. But it's got to be in your number is on a piece of paper that no one sees, not even the seller, right? And if your seller does see it, you fudge the numbers. You exaggerate them all, right?
Yeah.
This is how much it would cost. This is how much it would cost if you had to fix it. And there's no other way. My offer is the best, right? Your numbers are true, but they're exaggerated. Your numbers are going to be, this is what I pay for it. This is what it's going to cost me to fix it. This is how much hard money is. This is how much my private money is. This is how much profit I want to make. This is what it's going to sell for. This is what it's going to cost to sell it. This is what the agents are going to cost. This is what title is going to cost. This is what insurance is going to cost. And you have this whole number. And at the end of the day, the number that it comes up with is you have a budget that you can afford to build the house based on what you want to do to the house. With that said, If the guy is 50 grand over what you have a budget and you're going to go, I can't afford that. How do we make it 40,000 instead of 80? Right? But he or she, as a contractor, is going to go, yeah, I can do this, 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 and this. By the end of the day, you pick out the foundations. But if we stick around this price, it's going to be 400,000 to do this house. Okay, great. That fits right in my budget. But if it doesn't, then you can't hire that contractor, or you got to whittle him down, or you got to reduce the footprint of what you're doing. That's it. Or you got to get a new contractor. You got to get somebody else that's going to come inside your budget, because you're going to have a budget, but you're not going to tell it to them. So you're gonna ask them, how much is it for you to do this? I need to know what it's going to cost. And then they're going to tell you, right? There might be some fudge factor, and you're going to have a 10% fudge factor as well, right? Even whenever you fill out a hard money loan, construction loan for new construction, there is a contingency at the bottom that's at least 10%. You want to build it for 900, they're going to give you a loan for 990. They have to have that because they know nothing is accurate. So the contractor comes up with a number, and if it doesn't fit in what you can afford to pay to fix it, like that's going to be in one of your numbers on your math. Then you have to go back to them and say, this is where I'm at. I can't afford that. What's costing so much? Oh, you're going to redo what if we didn't redo the electric? Can we keep the electric that exists? It's knob and tubing. Okay. Does it still work? Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it. Right. The only reason why you'd have to change out knob and tubing is if you're getting an electrical permit. Then you got to bring it up to code. And then you got to get rid of the knob and tubing because it's not going to be code. You can't have fuses if you're getting a permit. They're going to have you put in a new electric box, right? But if there's no permit, now don't not get a permit. But if there's no permits required for the job you're doing, then you can keep whatever's old. House doesn't have to be grounded. I mean, all those things count. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for a
Yeah,
lot of
Celeste,
things
I
for me
would,
to take
yeah,
into
it sounds like you got your
consideration.
ducks in a row. You just gotta, I would definitely make a decision as soon as possible to get it under contract. And with your inspection period, you're direct to seller, you just go back, it's kind of like if you're buying a car, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, can I take it to my mechanic? You got a deal. You got the keys and the truck. You're driving the truck over to the mechanic. You're like, I'm going to make a decision, but we're good for 15 grand. And you go to the mechanic, guy's like, your car is awesome. This truck is great. However, you got two small leaks in these gaskets. It's going to cost $2,500 once these things break open. You probably got 30,000, 3,000, 5,000 miles left on those, right? Because he did an inspection. You go back to the guy, you go, I want the truck, but you got to split the difference with me on this, man. They're not broke yet, but they don't have a lot of leak. They're already leaking a little bit. I want a $2,000 discount. Same thing. You go back to the seller, you're like, I can't get this done for what I said. How about we do 120 instead of 140? No, you can't do it. All right, then I'm out. So you know what I mean? But get it under contract so no one else can come in behind you. You've already spent all this time working on something that you don't even have control over.
Right. Right. Well, she's not talking to anyone, but I guess there's surprises, right?
I know, but if you don't know that if all these other people, there's kids involved, there's an estate, an executor involved, they're all getting it off their plate. No one's just sitting there going, "Oh, I hope this girl buys it." You know what I mean? They're trying to sell it. Like they might not be talking, but somebody could find out about it, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, man, I'll give you 100 grand for it. I'll give you cash right now." Boom, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not just talking about this house, you guys and girls. I'm talking about every house.
Right.
You know what I mean? As soon as you can get it getting it under contract simply means it gives you all the control. It's just like clouding title. If you got a first option to buy and you didn't even go under contract, you know what I mean? You cloud the title, and then if anybody 10 years down the road wants it, they got to go through you first. All I'm saying is I don't ever spend this much time on we've spent more time on this property than I spent on a property ever before I put it under contract, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just not the way I do it, because I don't want to spend time on something I'm never going to buy. Right? The only houses I ever go see are the ones that I can't put under contract, which are houses I'm going to buy at auction. right? I saw it on iOS. I saw it on any of my pulled things. The auction's tomorrow. It's not next month. It's not today. It's tomorrow. And I go drive the house. And then I break in legally to see what's inside the house. And then I know what I'm going to pay for it at auction, how high I can bid on it, right? Other than that, I'm not driving 30 minutes to go see a house I don't own, that I'm not under contract on. What would be the point? Right?
Right.
Unless it's a retail house and I have a realtor and I'm driving around to 50 houses so that I can pick the house that I really want to live in. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you,
I'm not
Bill.
saying don't do it this way. You've already done it. You've already done your due
Yeah.
diligence.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's an exercise and a lot of
Now it's time.
research. I've
Now it's
done a
time to
lot.
get it under contract. Before you go
Yeah.
any further, it's time to make an offer. Make the lowest offer you possibly can think of. You've already know that she's willing to carry. You already know she doesn't need cash down. You already know that the lot is in pristine condition down the road for 148, and this lot sucks. It's going to cost $25,000 just to get this lot to perfect condition. So you're already 25 off of 148, going at 100, going at 95, going at 99. 100% owner client carry at 0% financing for a year.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on this.
Perfect.
And remember too, there's added benefits of like, hey, you know, your headache is now my problem. You know, I'm going to get every utility bill. I'm going to get every statement from the county or city. You don't have to think about it another second. That's also a profit, also a benefit for them. So, you know, don't end on the 0% financing. Say, and all of your headaches now become mine. You will sleep a lot better once we do this. And do it today, so you can come back on the call tomorrow and tell us it's done.
Oh, sorry, I was talking on mute. So yeah, thank you. I'll keep you posted. I'm going to be talking with the attorney, so we'll get this under contract today.
Sweet.
Yes.
Where, what's the income for the area? Like, are people making 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year, 150 grand a year?
It's probably 150 area. Yeah, 150,000 a year at minimum, because I mean those houses across the street, and I mean it's a nice area. I mean, I've been living here for 20 years, so I know it's desirable, good schools, great proximity. Just it's really great. Let's just put it this way. The property's been sitting empty for 5 years and there's no squatters in it. So other than the rodents and creatures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, well, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
time
just
for some action. This is
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to like get in there. I've already had like the tree guys. I just like want to do like the big reveal, like, oh my God, because right now the overgrowth is so much that, it's kind of like nobody's noticing it probably. But then the second I, officially close on that thing, I want to get all the outside underway as quickly as possible because, I'm motivated by the weather and I want to do landscaping already. So when spring comes, that thing's just popping and we're not like, dirtying up the yard with new landscaping. So this is just my thinking, like
Yeah,
timing is everything. So,
cool.
yeah,
We're rooting for you.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Bill, for that deep dive. I had a little aha moment listening as well. So
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. You got a question, Bill? You're on mute. There you go.
do. Your coverage on that was very good. You did mention one thing. Do you have, based on your practices, a general today build residential per square foot number average? let's just assume that we're doing something, we took a building down, it's a tear down, and we're gonna build new.
I think it would be fair to say, rough build should be around 130 a foot.
So if you're guesstimating at 150, you're generally safe, depending on the level of your build. For
The
example,
level of your
builder grade, move in, nothing special.
Right. Well, I would,
Luxury, deluxe, or custom, uh,
that's an
are all
average.
add-ons to that number, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I would say 150 is going to include cosmetics at a normal, like
Thank
130
you.
would be the guy doing everything, all the labor, but it would kind of be you picking out and buying in addition to the 130 a foot, your cosmetics. So you'd buy your light fixtures, your plumbing fixtures, you'd buy your flooring and you'd buy your countertops and your cabinets. Then he'd put it all in. So that might be another 20 or $30 a foot, depending, or it could be $50 a foot, right? You could be buying $60,000 cabinets, $60,000 in appliances. Then you're going to go up to the 175, 180 a foot. I think a good $1 million, $800,000 to $1.2 million, $1.5 million house in that range, 750, you're going to be around 200 a foot. I mean, if you build 3,000 square feet and you want to sell it for 900,000, building building it for 600,000 is, or 500,000 is not unreasonable. That's people are going to expect that type of quality. So you're buying the lot for 100, 150, you're building it for 500, you're selling it for 150, and you're making 200 grand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with it. I usually like that square foot number, completed project, total rebuild, and then amenities add-on, which are kitchens, bathrooms, specialty floors, upgrades of any sort, all get added on top of that as a line item. Usually that works very well.
Yeah. So when I'm building 2 million plus houses all over where we're building right now, we're building at, like, including cosmetics, 250 a foot. So I build 4,000 square feet for $1 million. And that includes a pool. I mean, and these are these are good finishes because we're selling those houses at 2.4 to 2.8 million. And and so you're picking up the lot for roughly 500 to 800,000, and you're carrying it for 100 and you're spending 100. So you're in for 2 million. You sell it for 2.4, 2.6, and you're making 4 to 600,000. And that's where we're at on a luxury house. You should be able to spend 150,000 on a normal, 800,000 square foot house, which is where most people are, where that's why the only way to really build that, well, I shouldn't say the only way. The only way I know how to build $400,000 and $500,000 houses is like Celeste is going to do, remodel it, number one. Number two, you got to build 20 of them at a time. So you can buy wood and you can get the whole thing done for $100 a foot or $80 a foot because you're building 10, right? The plumbers go right in order. You're buying a bunch of material at discount. You're buying a whole bunch of wood at discount. You're buying a whole bunch of appliances at discount, and you're building 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 houses or a whole subdivision, or, like a builder, they're building like, 50 houses. And so it costs them $80 a foot, and they can sell them for, you can build 3,000 square foot for 300 grand. Like, that's really good. And then they can sell them for 450 and make 50 grand a pop, and they're selling 20 houses, 50. That's a $10 million profit. That's a different animal. The rest of us we can't build spec homes necessarily. I can't say can't, but I don't see it in Phoenix where I could build a spec home and try to sell it for 400 grand. Nobody's going to build it for 200. I
No,
can't do it. I got
no,
to
they're
build
not.
houses that are selling for $1 million or more.
Yeah, builder grade is production,
Exactly, bro.
new subdivision, things like that.
You're 100% right. Yep.
Those costs are totally exclusive to that project.
100%. They've pre-ordered 2 years worth of building materials from a guy, and the the building contractor's making 8% on wood, but he's selling him like $1 million in wood. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, yeah, it rolls out differently because of the volume
Yep.
discounts that are included. And unless you're doing that kind of production subdivision rollout, you're not going to know those numbers well. So an individual, anything, residential property would fall into the category of custom.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
needs to be identified.
Bill, that's a great point. It's either semi-custom or custom. And full custom is like the the buyer almost is picking out like $1 million, light fixture or whatever. But semi-custom is you are semi-customing, you're making a custom home for a custom buyer in a custom
Right.
area. That's
Agreed.
semi-custom because you're making the decisions on this. That's why it's speculative. It's a spec home, but it's a semi-custom spec home, exactly like you're talking. It's not builder grade, like you said. It's not cookie cutter. It's not what's track homes. It's a semi-custom home. You're exactly right. All right, I've got to go, guys. I got to go up to this house. And I got to feed my dogs real quick.
Yeah, great
Michael,
call.
yeah, it was a good
Yeah.
call.
Thanks, everybody. Congrats, Celeste. Let's take some action. You're inspiring others and being coachable. Bill, always on your toes. I love it. Just hearing the way you think. It's exciting times. And just a great reminder, there's a lot of opportunity out there, folks.
Yep.
Get after it. We'll see you
Yeah.
tomorrow morning.
See you guys tomorrow and Thursday. And Bill, I'll probably be on that call tonight. Send me that link.
I'm looking forward to that. That should be very, very beneficial for collaboration.
Perfect. Looks good. All right, everybody.
All right. Bye now.